Hey Sonic, what's that, knucklehead? Well, let's just say I got some great news to tell you. Oh, what's that exactly? You'll soon to find out. Okay then. Hey, what's up ladies and gentlemen, it is I am the one and only Sonic the Hedgehog here, aka the Blue Blur, aka Blue Justice. And I'm Knuckles the Echidna here, and I'm an Echidna Warrior, and we are back for the likes of the Mexi Toys videos once again. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back for some more of Let's Play of Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze for the Nintendo Wii U / Nintendo Switch. So, last time we essentially did manage to explore the first half in Journey Forms of Juicy Jungle, and overall that was actually a really good time, despite the fact on this particular level right there, this is the only time we did somehow use the item inventory system, mainly because I will admit though, trying to actually go for a secret exit, in addition with the forms of the letter G on that level, that is actually going to be pretty tricky without it. So because of that, yeah, exponentially speaking, I was about the fact that until in the later stages, well, some stages in particular, that we might occasionally try to use the item inventory just to make things a little bit more easier for ourselves. So, but that's precisely the point. So today, for this video, is about the fact that we're going to be continuing exploring through Juicy Jungle, and here we go on to 5-6. Frosty Fruits. So, it could be something more related to like, I don't know, ice creamness or something like that. So, I suppose we'll find things out as soon as we jump right into this particular level. So, and believe it or not, is that this is actually the first ever day for February for 2024 today. So yes, if you're probably wondering, yeah, today's date of course is the 1st of February, in some cases in 2024 today. So, relatively speaking, I was about the fact that there's a lot of stuff we'd like to mention, but I suppose we'll have to wait for that until specifically once we get our way to the forms within the secret levels coming up. But first things first though is about the fact that I am super excited about this. According to what Knuckles did somehow told me something. Yeah, exactly. Which again, we'll discuss more details about that if we get on to the next couple of stages. So, but anyway though, there's a bonus area down there, so we can expect to grab the usual bananas and all that stuff. So everything else will be pretty much accounted for. So anyway, something's worth noting for also is about the fact that we actually got ourselves some, well, some other confirmation for the sake of the forms of how the fact that, well, in regards to the forms of what is going on at this point today, is that, well, first of all, is that we actually got ourselves the overview trailer just recently by the forms of Mario vs. Donkey Kong for the Switch remake. And nothing much to say about it, because obviously we've already know about this ever since it during the forms of about almost a month ago. So potentially speaking though, they've shown us some more gameplay footage for the likes of not only for certain worlds, and especially noticeable for some mechanics, 2-player co-op, and 2 different gameplay styles with casual mode or classic style. But relatively speaking, I was about the fact that, well, yeah, there's nothing else to say, because apart from the fact that for one noticeable thing in mind, that, you know I'm saying that Mario vs. Donkey Kong Remake does not get an amiibo functionality. So because of that though, it feels like that the amiibo functionality for some games nowadays is almost going to be phased out for the majority of the time. Well, that's mainly because no matter what though, we've almost nearly at the end for the likes of the Super Smash Bros. Lineup of amiibos, because after all we've got one more left, which is of course Sora, and as a result we've only got about 15 more days to go until not just by the forms of Sora amiibo is going to be releasing for Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, but also it's about the fact that Mario vs. Donkey Kong on the Switch remake as well. And speaking of which though, is about the fact that I did somehow manage to find out that the demo version has already came out just recently. Mind you, we haven't exactly tested this out, mainly because I'm still waiting for a full game to come out, and in addition to that though, it's just, well, you only experience 4 stages in the majority of them in Journey forms within Mario Toy Company. So as a result, you only experience level 1-1, level 1-3, and level 1-5. And finally, level 1-Mini Mario. However though, you can't to have the ability to fight against with Donkey Kong for some reason, but that's besides the point. So, and exponentially speaking though, Sonic, is about the fact that we, was able to save up for certain memory capacity before able to actually just try to get some more Nintendo Switch stuff in the future. Yeah, speaking of which though, is about the fact that, again, we'll save that particular best, specific stuff for later, because first, next up we would like to point things out is about the fact that unfortunately though we come across into a specific delay for that particular game for mobile devices, not just by the forms of, I think I would say it's from Android most likely. That as a result is that it looks like that Kingdom Hearts Missing Link has officially been delayed until at some point in spring this year. To be more specifically, the closed beta version. So because of that though, yeah, it's kind of a pain though, because it was originally supposed to be able to be released at some point in sometime in January, but sadly it's been pushed back until at some point in spring. It could either be March, April, or May. So it's kind of difficult to tell, honestly, because we already know from the fact that, well, obviously it's been a very long while since we actually known about something related to the forms of Kingdom Hearts Missing Link for the Android phone devices in particular. So, but either way, that's as far as we can able to address that. So, anyway, so we don't have much time to deal with that enemy right now, so we'll just go ahead and cut straight to the point, and oh, what's this? There's the last puzzle piece right over there. Good thing we did somehow noticing this, especially considering that then again we keep Dixie Kong at all times. So that was it basically for the sake of the forms of Frosty Fruits. So pretty cool level though, especially concerning about the fact that I love the fact that if we do manage to step onto the forms of the Ice Lolly platforms, obviously we need to be quick about it, because otherwise that we will fall off and die. So anyway, that pretty much does it for that. But we're not done with this yet though, just because no matter what though, we'll go ahead and try to find the secret exit in Journey Forms Within Fruity Factory. Now, as far as I'm aware, it's gonna be not that too far. It's likely after the first Blender Chase sequence, at least as far as if I was going to be thinking about it. So either way though, let's just hop right into this, and exponentially we can able to actually get a move on basically. So anyway though, so they did address something about the forms of the Kingdom Hearts. Oh, there's that missing puzzle piece right down there. Oh jeez, I was not expecting that. But hey, at least we finally found it at the very least. It's actually at the beginning portion of the level, which I was not expecting that. But regardless of anything else though for this point, Sonic, at the very least we're doing quite well for this world in regards to the forms of finding certain puzzle pieces after all. Well, certainly a little bit more up there compared to the forms of how it does it from the likes of the fourth world, of course, being the forms of Seabreeze Cove, but that's besides the point. So, anyways though, there's nothing in here because we've already investigated with that bonus area since we first got there, so anywho though. So yeah, they addressed about the forms of a notification about the forms of this Kingdom Hearts Missing Link closed beta test has been delayed. That's basically though for the Android version most notably. They did say the closed beta test of Kingdom Hearts Missing Link for Android, which was set for January in 2024, has been postponed. And we apologize for the delay in notifying players and any inconvenience caused. And there was actually a description about the fact that the reason why the actual test beta version has been delayed, and they did say the postponage of the Android version is due to the conclusion that further adjustments are necessary to ensure that the game can be played comfortably on a wider range of devices. And the new date for the closed beta test is scheduled for, as we said, spring 2024, but then again it's depending on the forms of which month it's going to be releasing on. It could either be March or April or May. I would say probably at some point in May, because no matter what though, it's about the fact that that was the time when summer's almost approaching during that time or something. So anyway, we did found the secret exit right there. It's actually not too difficult to find. So in some cases though, yeah, we've basically done everything for the sake of the Fruity Factory. So with that being said though, we're about to able to go on to the next two levels. So let's see, we've got level 5A Beehive Brawl. Okay, so it looks like we're going to be exploring into the actual honey hive, or beehive to be more specifically. So I mean, what's this? We can able to feed some more honey for Winnie the Pooh, because trust me while I'm saying this for this point, Knuckles, is that he is so obsessed with honey, which to be expected at this point. But of course, we do need to be cautious about this, especially concerning for the fact that, jeez, I was not expecting that, because it was supposed to be Cranky Kong who was going to be able to do this task, but was actually able to do it the hard way, so, or in some cases the nerve-wracking part. So we got the puzzle piece and take a death right there, so that's okay, because obviously the actual starting locations is not too far. So, yeah, we will admit though right away, it's been about 2 days ago since we've last played this, you know. And kind of think about it for this point, Knuckles, is about the fact that I was maybe concerning about the fact, no matter what though, that Ray the Flying Squirrel, he's almost finishing up everything for the likes of Super Mario Bros. Wonder. I was maybe wondering, at some point in Journey Films, within some point until next week, we can probably decide able to change things up slightly in regards to the forms of the uploading schedules on this game in particular. Or what's that exactly? Well, we are still pretty much on the 5th world in this game so far. So potentially speaking though, imagine if Ray the Flying Squirrel has pretty much finished up everything from Super Mario Bros. Wonder during about that time until possibly until next week, I would imagine. We could probably able to finish up this entire Let's Play of Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze during the forms of possibly until next week or something. Well, that might be an ideal way for this point, Sonic. I mean, sure enough though, it all really depends really of the time length and everything, so yeah, I digress. Oh, okay, that was close. So, I believe there's a bonus area right here. So, anyway, there's also another thing we want to mention, is that, yes, we got some news for the sake of the forms of somewhere in Orlando, and that's what appears to be that the Super Nintendo World is coming into Orlando in 2025, specifically from the Epic Universe counterpart, which not only contains the usual, the Mushroom Kingdom setting, but it's also able to include the Donkey Kong Country location as well. So, potentially speaking though, it's going to get a lot more bigger compared to the forms of how it does it for the Hollywood version, because no matter what though, we're still pretty much hyped for able to go there. So, relatively speaking though, that's as far as we can able to address that. And as far as whenever I see the actual concept art for the actual Orlando version of Super Nintendo World for the actual Epic Universe version, it looks super expansive, which as a result, I'm still very curious to know what the actual thing decides to look like until that thing decides to able to get finalized, and doing at some point until next year in 2025. Yeah, possibilities were endless, Knuckles. Possibilities were endless. So, anyways though, there's also another thing we want to point out, is that apparently though, the Japanese version of Five Nights at Freddy's movie is definitely happening, which we did not expect it at first. But as a result, it did somehow get the release date for it, for the Japanese version of Five Nights at Freddy's movie. And as a result, that, I think, potentially speaking though, that the actual film is about to be releasing at some point on 9th of February. So that's going to be roughly about 8 days for now. Well, technically next week for the Japanese time zone, just because the time zone for Japan is a lot different compared to our time zone. So, including with the forms of the American version as well. Yeah, which technically speaking though, we've already got, you know, Five Nights at Freddy's already, for the likes of the forms of the movie, for the DVD and Blu-ray for this point right now. So, yeah, you probably get the idea for that. So, and also, did you know about the fact that we've only got 6 more days to go until the Marvels is going to be releasing on Disney+? Well, our expectations might be a little bit lower, but regardless of such though, we're able to give our final thoughts of the actual film if we managed able to see it until 6 days time. So, well, don't get our hopes up at this point, just because I've seen a lot of mixed reactions to it. So, potentially speaking though, you probably get the idea of what to expect. So, anyways, let's grab onto this little stuff right here. And kind of think about it, we'll bring Dixie Kong with us, just like usual. Ah, you kidding me? I can't judge the actual, the distance. Oh, okay, I got able to stop doing that. And... oh, come on! I just don't want to die from that particular pesky bee. But thankfully we did somehow made it, so... And exponentially, though, we somehow got Dixie Kong with us, so just to ensure for the fact it makes the entire, you know, platforming sequence a lot more of a cakewalk, so... Anyway, there's also another thing we want to address something, is that, potentially speaking now, that Avatar 4 has recently begun filming, despite the fact that the third film has not been released just yet. And as a result, Avatar 4 is going to be releasing at some point in 2029. I mean, good lord, it's going to be a long time gap as far as I'm concerned. And unfortunately, we missed the end right here, so... It's definitely a little bit tricky though, because no matter what though, certain letters, it does require a specific timing requirements or something. But regardless of such though, that's as far as we can able to address it, so... Anyway, speaking of 2025, as well as the films of some other stuff worth noting for, that yes, we did somehow watch the films of the recent State of Play. Not gonna say, it was okay, apart from this one exciting thing, and you probably already know why. And as a result, no matter what though, the first thing they somehow announced, for the sake of the films of State of Play, ever since in yesterday, which as a result, they did show us some more gameplay footage of Hell's Divers 2, and that's going to be releasing at some point until next week right now. And as a result, it's going to be on the 8th of February in this year, and it's going to be available for PlayStation 5 and PC, and maybe for Xbox. Oh, wait a second, it's not going to be on Xbox, it's going to be on PlayStation exclusive, just because of that PlayStation Studios logo is being represented for, so I guess that makes it a little bit more obvious. So, in the next game they did revealed, which appears to be Stellar Blade, and as a result that's going to be releasing until the 26th of April in 2024, exclusive to PlayStation 5. And afterwards though, something really caught me off guard, and especially concerning for the fact I'm pretty sure that Raid the Flying Squirrel has already hinted that, well at least ever since in Journey Forms within the Super Mario Bros. Wonder playthrough, I'm pretty sure. As it turns out, we got ourselves a brand new remaster of a familiar Sonic game. And as a result, it's actually kind of a good one actually. And as a result, we're about to be getting Sonic X Shadow Generations, which is basically a remastered version of Sonic Generations. Originally came out in 2011, but now we're going to be able to have another version of Sonic Generations, but this time we're able to have ourselves an additional Shadow the Hedgehog content. And as a result, I am super excited about this. Although the entire gameplay of Sonic Generations, at least specifically with that new trailer just came up, feels very identical to the forms of how it does the only forms of it, not only for the Xbox 360 version, but also with the PlayStation 3 version, and on top of that with the PC version as well. But, to be more specifically though, I think if I recall correctly, they're now able to have full 60 frames per second, at least specifically on multiple platforms for right now, which as a result, we'll explain more down in a moment, because as it turns out, in addition about the fact that we're able to actually have Shadow to be a playable character in Sonic Generations, which as a result, that'll be pretty exciting for Shadow fans, but also we're also able to get the entire new story campaign focused on Shadow the Hedgehog, which as a result, it is really awesome. And on top of that, they also bring back the forms of some of these familiar foes from Shadow's past, ranging from BioLizard from Sonic Adventure 2, while technically it was actually also featured in Journey Forms within a 3DS version of Sonic Generations back in 2011, despite the fact that you, the only one, did somehow fight the BioLizard back on the 3DS version of Sonic Generations though, Sonic. Yeah, exactly. And you never believe this, is that they brought back the main antagonist from Shadow the Hedgehog, and as a result is Black Doom. Or, to be more specifically, well, you know what I'm saying, Black Doom. So, yeah, that honestly caught me off guard, to able to see Black Doom do somehow make its return. So yeah, it's actually pretty interesting. And as far as I'm aware, they did somehow get ourselves some bit of confirmation of certain levels that Shadow can only experience in some stages. Like, for instance, there's one involves around based off from Mustapolis from Shadow the Hedgehog, and another level which is actually going to be focused around Space Colony Arc. It could be either be Final Rush or Final Chase. Well, it's a bit difficult to tell, because obviously we got ourselves our first glimpse of the gameplay footage for the sake of the Forms of Shadow Generations portion of the game. And as far as I'm concerned for this point, Knuckles, is that still I'm very excited about it, because not only that we obviously do enjoy Sonic Generations for the Xbox 360 and PlayStation 3, but I will have to admit it though right away, I'm going to enjoy it even more for the sake of the forms of not only it's going to be releasing on the PlayStation 4, just like the forms of how it does it on Sonic Forces, Sonic Colors Ultimate, and especially noticeable with Sonic Frontiers and all that stuff. But also it's going to be releasing on PlayStation 5, in addition to that, Xbox One, Xbox Series X/S, PC, just like the forms of how it does it on the 2011 original version, and on top of that, the Epic Store version, and finally, most notably, the Nintendo Switch. So that means you can finally get a chance to play the HD version of Sonic Generations on the go. So yeah, that's actually pretty fantastic, especially concerning, unlike in 2011, that it was originally going to have the Wii port to Sonic Generations, as well as the forms of the PSP and the DS version of Sonic Generations, but somehow it was completely cancelled for the Wii version, mainly because of the actual hardware limitations or something like that. And I suppose no matter what though, because of the forms of the actual graphics or something, so... But relatively speaking though, it's about the fact that it's actually pretty awesome that you can now able to play the HD version of Sonic Generations on the go, on the Switch version that is. Well, technically if you want to count the Steam Deck, which as a result, it pretty much does the same thing, but you can able to actually customize your mods while during this process, so... And, potentially speaking though, is that what I've noticed is about the fact that the actual, CGI sequence on that particular trailer feels a bit identical to the original counterpart, except the fact that they now include Shadow on that specific sequence. So, yeah, it's actually pretty interesting about the fact that we've almost gotten every single modern Sonic games being remastered for, most of the actual systems up to this point. So, the only thing is missing at this point, which is, well, let's just say, Sonic Lost World. Well, technically speaking, though, that Sonic Lost World did receive, 3 versions, which is the Wii U version, and the 3DS version, and the PC version. So, there's no, I don't think it's possible for the Xbox or the PlayStation versions to be released at some form or another. And, in addition to that, though, there's also going to be Sonic Unleashed, that is going to be the only ones left. And on top of that with Sonic 06, although, let's just not cut straight to the point for this point, Knuckles, just because no matter what though, that Sonic 06 is pretty much a disaster. Well, at least it did sell quite well back then, so I can totally see why they pretty much remastered Sonic Generations for the sake of the forms of for those of you who ever missed out, for not only for newcomers, but also with the forms of some die-hard fans were able to expect to see new content, and on top of that, certain familiar aspects since in Journey Forms of in 2011 and all something. So, anyways, let's grab... No, don't let the time run out. Oh, come on! Oh god, I hate this sometimes. Oh, that's not good. So, I suppose no matter what though, we're most able to have to take a death. And also we have to re-grab that specific letter again, so... that's gonna be pretty irritating, especially concerning for the fact that, again, we're pretty much used to with having our Kong companion, just in case we can able to actually make the bonus areas a little bit of a cakewalk. But as it turns out, with Donkey Kong by himself, it makes things a little bit more tricky and difficult when it comes to the forms of completing certain bonus areas, so... Anyways though, as far as the release date, as far as I'm concerned, in regards to the forms of Sonic X Shadow Generations, it's going to be releasing once again until at some point in autumn. So because of that, it could be either be September or October or November. So it's kind of difficult to tell at this point because no matter what though, it's still basically in development. But I'm still pretty excited for it, especially concerning for the fact that at this point in time, we've almost gotten every single Sonic games, well, basically based off from Boost formula for certain Sonic games on multiple platforms on PlayStation 4, Xbox One, as well as Nintendo Switch. And because of that though, the only ones left is obviously Sonic Unleashed, because I'm pretty certain for the fact that I'm pretty sure that Sonic Unleashed is probably not going to get remastered anytime soon, until likely it's going to be focused on next generation of systems for maybe the new Nintendo system or PlayStation 5 or Xbox Series X exclusives, because obviously no matter what though, I'm pretty certain for this point, Knuckles, I'm pretty sure that the Nintendo Switch version will not be capable of running the HD version of Sonic Unleashed sometimes, just because of the graphics, and on top of that, with frame rate decides to dip a lot. So, it could be for possibilities though, but regardless of such though, let us know in the comments down below for the question of the day. Are you guys excited for the remastered version of Sonic Generations? Or to be more specifically, Sonic X Shadow Generations? Because I'd like to hear your thoughts, especially concerning about the fact that we can probably start to play that game not until likely in 2025 though, mainly because we are still planning to decide to focus on some other stuff for now, mainly for the sake of the forms of the majority of the Donkey Kong games for now, and on top of that with certain Mario stuff every once in a while. So yeah, you probably get the idea for this point. So, and I don't know about you for this point, Sonic, is that I'm pretty certain that hopefully though it will not be as buggy or glitchy compared to the forms of, do you remember the forms of Sonic Colors Ultimate, right? Oh yeah, about that, because obviously no matter what though, thankfully though, Sonic X Shadow Generations is going to be still developed by Sonic Team, so unlike the forms of how it does it on Sonic Colors Ultimate, where basically though is about the fact that that game is being developed by Blind Squirrel Games, so at the very least though, that hopefully that Sonic X Shadow Generations does not get screwed up, compared to the defaults of how it does it for Sonic Colors Ultimate, which if I've seen the gameplay footage of Sonic Generations, or specifically Sonic X Shadow Generations, the actual gameplay footage is actually not too bad. Like, the graphics is pretty much untouched, and as a result, it still looks amazing, even to this day. And also, it will be amazing to see the 4K quality for the sake of the forms of other versions like Xbox Series X and PlayStation 5 versions. So, no matter what though, we'll have to wait and find out until at some point in either in September, October, or November at some point. So, but yeah, we're pretty much happy about that, especially considering for the fact that I still classify for saying that Sonic Generations is still one of the greatest Sonic games ever, and as a result is one of the greatest celebration of Sonic games even to this day, especially concerning in during the forms of it in 2011 was meant to celebrate the 20th anniversary of Sonic the Hedgehog, and as a result that I get the strong sense of feeling that just like the forms of how it does it in The Legend of Zelda Skyward Sword for the likes of the Nintendo Wii and the Switch versions, that the Wii version was going to celebrate the 25th anniversary of the Legend of Zelda series, and unlike the Switch version, does not seem able to feature the 25th anniversary logo anymore. So it could be a very similar situation as the forms of not only for Sonic Generations for the Xbox 360 and PlayStation 3, including the forms of the 3DS version as well. And I think that could be also applied for the PC version as well. So potentially speaking though, they've shown us the 20th anniversary of the actual back cover for the actual Sonic Generations game case. And as far as I'm aware, with Sonic X Shadow Generations might not feature the 20th anniversary logo anymore. So because of that though, yeah, it feels like the exact same treatment. Speaking of which though, that I've noticed about the fact that a lot of people seem to already address that Sonic X Shadow Generations, it feels very similar to the forms of how it does it for the likes of Super Mario 3D World, plus Bowser's Fury treatment, like as a result you are still able to experience the main game in one of the modes, and the other mode you can able to experience the side story featured the forms of Shadow the Hedgehog himself. So, pretty cool though. So anyway, now we've actually done with that, for that particular level as you can tell. So now we're about to be moving on to the next temple level, which appears to be Platform Problems. And as far as I'm aware, to me though, this is without doubt is one of the hardest temple levels in the entire game. Especially concerning for the fact that, for one noticeable thing, unlike the forms of how it does it in 1K as well as 3K, there are no barrels to be found, so we have to do it with one specific Kong if you keep on dying a lot. But that's why we decided to bring in 2 of those Dixie Kong barrels, just in case it makes the entire stage a lot of a cakewalk, as we probably already expect at this point. So, but yeah, aside from that, they also shown us some more stuff about the forms of Firm Stars, and is expected to be still releasing on PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5. And as far as I'm concerned, the Firm Stars party begins at some point and join at some point on the 6th of February. So, yeah, that's interesting. And also, they're getting ourselves Dave the Diver with Godzilla collaboration or something at some point on May in 2024. And after that though, there aren't any interesting stuff I would like to point out, apart from this last thing they did show us. And as a result, the last thing they did show us in the Forms Within a State of Play Direct, and as a result, they've shown us the sequel of Death Stranding. And as a result, it's going to be Death Stranding 2 on the beach, and it's going to be releasing until 2025. And to be expected, it's going to be coming on the PlayStation 5, so no PS4s or anything else like that. I'm pretty guessing correctly that maybe that Sonic X Shadow Generations might just be the last Sonic game to be released on the PlayStation 4, along with Xbox One, and possibly maybe with Nintendo Switch as well. And speaking of which though, I'm really hoping that the Switch version does not, I repeat, do not get the cloud version of Sonic Generations, because if it does, I'm pretty much going to be able to be not happy with that. But regardless of everything else though, Sonic, thankfully does not seem to be the case when it comes to the cloud version of that. So, yeah, because unlike the Kingdom Hearts games, well, understandably so for HD 2.8 because of that, you know, Kingdom Hearts key back cover movie cinematic cutscenes, and both by Sleep 0.2 because of the graphics powerhouse, as well as Kingdom Hearts 3. But it's very, very less sense to me for 1.5 plus 2.5 remakes. I think the reason why, though I do somehow manage to find out that the reason why those Kingdom Hearts games on the Switch is expected to be on cloud versions only, mainly because not only for its graphics powerhouse, but it's also with the memory capacity. Because remember, with the PS4 version, as well as the Xbox One version, or any other Xbox system versions, that they do have bigger memory capacity. So because of that, usually for the sake of like 60 gigabytes, if you want to include the actual free downloadable content or something, that's saying a lot. So there we go, we basically finish up with this particular stage right here. So, of course, we're not exactly done with this world completely just yet, because as usual, there are some missing puzzle pieces we can expect to find. So, I think there's actually quite a few levels that we can probably able to find some missing puzzle pieces from time to time. So, let's just say, for instance, we'll go back onto the first level in Journey Forms Within Fruity Jungle, or Juicy Jungle, so let's just find that puzzle piece. Alright, so it's going to be on this section right here, and if we pay attention to that specific barrel that did somehow stick out, that is where the bonus area was actually located. So, we did not pay attention to that at first, mainly because we're being a little bit cautious for the sake of the forms of trying to able to, well, pay attention to with our footing and stuff like that, but still. So, as usual, grab some more bananas with these very, odd pattern platforms, as far as I'm aware. But at the very least, though, we are almost trying to succeed, but luckily we somehow did for about 7 seconds left. So, and I think that's pretty much about it for that particular stage, completely. Alright, so the next level we're going to be finding for more puzzle pieces, as far as I'm aware, and that's what appears to be none other than in this level. And something tells me we need to... if I recall correctly, there must be something is usually up here somewhere. Ah, that probably explains it. We need to grab onto that specific, you know, the green stuff, and, oh, you kidding me? We're going back into this very awkward, bonus area, which actually requires specific timing on barrel cannons, and still not a big fan of those. But that's saying a lot, by the way, so... Alright, hopefully we should grab the last 2 batch of banana bunches, and there we go. Oh, we honestly forgot about that at first, but luckily we did somehow succeed. And that pretty much does it from there. So, all we need to do now is basically we need to fight the next boss, which, kind of thinking about it, out of all the actual bosses in this entire game, this is by far the best boss fight in the entire game. In some cases, here we go on to level 5-boss, which appears to be Punch Bowl. kind of a cool name for that particular level. Which I suppose, no matter what though, is about the fact that we might able to fight against with, you know, as you said earlier, the best boss in the entire game. So, either way, this time we'll bring Diddy Kong, just in case we'll see him in action in certain boss fights. So here we go. And it looks like we're fighting against with this polar bear. Well, to be more specifically though, his name is Bash Master, because obviously he's utilizing his hammer, and wow, this music seriously slaps. Especially it's almost like rock and everything. So I will say though, as we said this before, this is easily the best boss in the game. Not just because of the music, but it's also it feels a little bit more action-packed. So no matter what though, thankfully we don't need to worry about a lot of emphasis on swimming. So there are some quite a lot of ways you can able to actually attack Bash Master. Like for instance, you can either decide able to jump on his head, or you can able to use the watermelon bombs, to able to actually toss back at him, just like the forms of how it does it for Baboom, from the likes of the forms of how it does it in Bright Savannah. So there are quite multiple ways you can able to actually fight him. So the only time you need to watch out for is quite a number of things. First of all, he decides to able to kick those ice blocks at you, so just in case you don't get shocked over. And also you need to able to like hurry this up before the actual bomb explodes, just in case you do need to start this entire sequence again. And the more you try to able to hit him, usually for the sake of like 3 hits each for like each phases, basically though, as you can tell, his fur decides to change color into the forms of likely purple, which as a result is almost like grape juice. So, oh, grape juice, I love the sound of that. Well, technically like blackcurrant or something, but either way. So here we go on to phase 2, where now he's actually has multiple attacks, ranging from that particular slam ground pound technique as he's doing. And on top of that, he also decides able to summon some more ice cubes or ice blocks, so he can able to run back and forth between left and right. And it's your job to able to try to avoid his little running technique, and as a result, when he starts spinning and he goes dizzy, then it's your chance to able to actually stomp on his head. So, relatively speaking though, relatively a cool boss fight to me, because look at the design of this guy, especially concerning for the fact that I get it, he was actually a polar bear of all things. So no matter what though, we're scout able to try to able to focus on this right now. And I think this is where the point about the fact that we've almost stumbled across into something a little bit more snowy and icicle feel to it, because as far as I'm aware, I get the strong feeling that the next world coming up, we actually decided able to go back into Donkey Kong Island of all things. Well, generally speaking though, oh wow, that hitbox just really not helped me that much. But thankfully we got the hearts back, so at least that's something. And he's actually going to get even much more popular, or purple rather. So we're now on to phase 3. So basically we have to do the same stuff as before, but except the fact that it's going to get a little bit slightly tricky, because now they're able to actually bring us some more ice cubes or ice blocks to the table. Although there's also some couple of pickups you can able to pick up from, but honestly I would not recommend you do so, because obviously if you get distracted by some stuff like that, then obviously no matter what though, you're about to die a lot. So, but it's definitely a little bit tricky, but regardless of such though, it's actually not too shabby for the most part. So, anyways though, aside from all that stuff though, there's also technically the final thing I want to mention for this point today, is that recently Pokemon Scarlet and Violet has recently got updated onto version 3.0.1. So, I'm not exactly sure what they brought up something into for that particular update, just because no matter what though, we still are not a huge Pokemon fanatic. But regardless of such though, it is kind of cool to able to actually have ourselves our next update for that particular thing itself. So, but yeah, aside from all that stuff though, still I'm very happy about the fact that we're getting ourselves a yet another remaster of the actual Sonic game, but this time based off from the greatest Sonic games ever back in 2011. So yeah, it's been like 13 years ago since we've got the original version of the game, on the Xbox 360 and the PlayStation 3 version, and let's not forget ourselves with the PC version and the 3DS version. So we're not exactly sure what other contents they'll bring. My guess it will be like, oh, I don't know, maybe bringing some new zones from the sake of the past Sonic games or something. Well, I'm not exactly sure if they're able to bring Casino Night on the pinball minigame returns, but we shall see. And there goes Bashmaster. So, and that pretty much does it for Juicy Jungle. So I'm gonna say Juicy Jungle is without a doubt the coolest world. Just because obviously it's filled to the brim with a lot of fruits and all that stuff. So, pretty cool world, at least for my recollection. So, and that pretty much does it from there. So, I wonder what the next barrel cannon is gonna lead us into. Well, believe it or not though, we're going back into Donkey Kong Island, as you can tell. But except now it's all covered in snow. So we got able to get rid of the snow somehow. So we'll shall see. So with that being said, we got the ending stuff at this point right here. So join us next time for more of Let's Play of Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze. It's now we're going on to World 6. By the forms of all that stuff though, we're going into Donkey Kong Island. So that'll be interesting. So we'll see you guys until next Tuesday. Later, fellas.